Hey everybody, Alex Kazora, SteelersDepot.com, back with some more Pittsburgh Steelers tape breakdown and analysis. And I don't want to keep making these videos in some sense, but the Pittsburgh Steelers keep making me do it. And the offense was bad. It's been bad for most of the season. At least the passing game was bad. The run game was certainly respectable against the Cleveland Browns on Sunday. But what I think was most unique about the failures and mistakes against Cleveland was just how messy and how much miscommunication that there was in this game. And I think a large reason of that was due to being on the road, being in a really loud environment, but still, for a team this far along, that's healthy, that generally has good continuity, just so many messy mistakes, just so many self-inflicted wounds. Let's talk about it today. And before we start the video, if you guys could like this video, also subscribe to the channel and check out SteelersDepot.com. I would really appreciate that. But we'll start things off, and even before Matt Canada came along as OC, the Pittsburgh Steelers have been a terrible running back and tight end screen team. They try to utilize a bunch of screens in this game to slow down that Browns pass rush, and it was painful most of the time. So early in this one, running back screen to Najee Harris. This one gets batted down, but I think even if this pass gets through with the D-tackle batting this one down, this one is not even going to be seen by Najee Harris, whose head around is pretty late here, doesn't get his head around until then, and he's running into the defender on this one, the DB, that Dan Moore is blocking on this play, and so even if this pass is not batted down, it's not going to be a successful play, and just a simple running back screen that is incomplete and going nowhere. So the Steelers tried again a short time later, and this one is actually to its intended target, running back Jaylen Warren. And you see Pickett making some checks. I don't know if he checked into this screen. There is a blitz, so it's not a terrible idea to call this screen. Actually, I think this one might have been a delay of game, I want to say, but still to the point, you're seeing the linemen, they're pulling out late. They're still reacting like this play is ongoing, and you just see this one not even have a chance. It's actually a good thing that Pittsburgh got called for a delay of game on this one. It was a positive benefit as opposed to losing the same 5 yards and the down to just lose the yardage and not the down on this one. So this one actually, as I kind of remember back, it's still in the all-22 reel. But let's just kind of look at the other angle here briefly from this side of things. And again, thankfully, this was a delay of game, because if it's not, you got the running back out in front of his blockers. Again, the linemen are pulling like the play has not stopped. That's why Robinson has stopped, but not the lineman, and this one's going to be completely blown up. So just a painful running back screen team. Pittsburgh, 3 of 14 on third down in this game, as ugly as you're going to see, their worst output since 2019, and this is one reason why. And they were in a lot of third and longs, but this is 3rd and 4. This is very makeable, and you go back to the miscommunication, wide receivers, quarterback not being on the same page. In particular, it really was Deontay Johnson and Kenny Pickett not being on the same page. That was the common theme. See Johnson run inside, Pickett throws outside. This one is incomplete. Now, Johnson took to Twitter to say he ran the correct route, so I'll take him at his word on this one. I mean, just to say, broadly speaking, trying to define blame on miscommunication can be really difficult and tricky to do, because you're trying to see what went wrong and assign the blame in terms of knowing what was supposed to go right on the play. And that can be tough to do from our outsider perspective. So I'm not interested in really assigning blame on many of these miscommunication examples, just to point out the obvious, point out the miscommunication. And, maybe Johnson should have sat there and converted that route. I don't know. He says he ran the correct route. But again, just this one, 3rd and 4, woefully behind, and Pittsburgh has to punt, one of 9 punts on the day. This one, I suppose, can be more forgivable for Pittsburgh thinking that Cleveland had jumped off sides, but they were not ultimately flagged for it. And so this one ends up being just an empty play where the line isn't blocking because they're not sure what's happening. Pickett wants the ball snapped. He throws just this, basically ball straight out of bounds, and it's incomplete, obviously. So I know that at the end, I think that's Myles Garrett jumping, and that's why Pickett wanted the ball. But the refs did not flag this. Garrett, I guess, got back in time, and it's incomplete. So whenever an offense is this bad, if you score 30 points, this happens. All right, you kind of chalk it up and say, it happens. But whenever you're an offense just as terrible as Pittsburgh was in this game and really has been the last month, these things get highlighted all the more. And George Pickens, I guess he caught this one, which is a great play there by George Pickens, although obviously out of bounds and incomplete. So again, just messy stuff. Even when the Browns seemingly almost made a mistake and jumped off sides, Pittsburgh still cannot benefit. The Steelers' run game in this one, obviously not nearly the issue. The passing game was. The running game was overall successful. Great game for Jaylen Warren. Check out a film and breakdown on the site by our Josh Carney. That's why I'm not doing a Jaylen Warren channel breakdown or video breakdown. But here's a situation where the run game, you just kind of shake your head. 10-7 game here in the fourth quarter. Pittsburgh driving at the Browns 16-yard line. 1st and 10. Got a chance here to certainly, kick the field goal, which Pittsburgh ultimately did, but try to get in the end zone. For the first time, or for the second time, I should say, of the afternoon. And this one just totally kind of sets you back on 1st down. So 1st and 10 run, going to get this wham block here from Pat Freiermuth on the defensive tackle. Everything up front is executed pretty well, except for, we'll go back, you see the safety come down here. Allen Robinson now trying to crack him because the corner's off. Safety down, trying to crack that guy. He's obviously so far wide here, he has no chance to be able to reach him. You'll see him kind of try to chase. It's futile. So can't this guy be motioned down or something? There's got to be some way to take care of that. Otherwise, the safety, Delpert's coming in free, and he blows his play up. Otherwise, it's pretty well blocked, and let's assume for a second that safety's taken care of to some extent. This could be a big play here for Jaylen Warren, who, of course, was running really well in this game. So just one of those things where the design, it's one of those things we have to adjust to, but can't you motion that guy down or something like that? When you see that safety come down, they're going to pack the box and stop the run here. Again, we're looking at 22 Delpit. Robinson is off screen, wanting and needing to crack that guy, but he's so far aligned out wide that there's no way he's going to be able to do that. And you see Delpit come in and make the tackle on Warren, put you in 2nd and long. You lose yardage here. Pittsburgh ultimately settles for a field goal and makes it 10-10 instead of trying to take the lead, which may have won the game. And let's just keep the tape rolling and go to the very next play. So it's 2nd and long for the Steelers. Watch Deontay Johnson to the bottom on this Yankee concept, these crossers. We're going to get Deontay Johnson coming underneath Calvin Austin. This one, in large respects, is executed properly, and Johnson, as you probably just saw him flash across the screen, is wide open for a easy would-be walk-in type of touchdown, and Kenny Pickett does not see it. He does get sacked here. I know there's pressure. I know he's sacked, but I think there was enough time for Pickett, had he saw it and maybe made the kind of hindsight read, to hit Johnson on this play. So you have to understand quarterbacks work progression, and it can be easy to kind of point to open receivers, but you kind of have to put it in the context of the actual progression. And so the first read here is George Pickens, number 1, to the outside. So that's where Pickett's eyes go first. Then he comes back to these crossers, though, with Austin over the top and Johnson to the bottom. Ends up taking Austin here, and I just don't quite understand what he saw to kind of look at Austin as opposed to Johnson, who was coming across as you're seeing these Browns defensive backs out leveraged and losing track of Deontay on this play. And so by the time he could have even come back to Deontay as the third progression in the read, the pressure does get home and he gets sacked. We'll take a good look at it from the end zone view, and you're going to see Pickett's eyes work to Pickens on that, I forget what it was, a post or a kind of a deeper dig route initially, and then he's going to come back to the crossers right here, and just seeing the picture of the DB following Austin here, Johnson having more space, more leverage against the DB right here. He's just your better receiver, the guy that you want to get the ball to overall, but yet, and kind of seeing this DB also to the bottom start turning away as there's miscommunication on Cleveland's part for Pickett to track that. I don't know what brought his eyes to that as opposed to Johnson coming across. And then you do get the pressure here as the Browns get the sack. And this one, the protection, a little funky. We'll take one last look at it from the this end zone view right here. You see, say, Molly, Pittsburgh's been doing this recently against some of these nickel and safety blitzes, trying to pop the offensive lineman out, popping the center, popping the guard out. It looks like that's what Say Molly was starting to do here, and then either backed off and didn't think the blitz was coming. You see Say Molly popping out right here. Not sure why not Cole isn't picking that up more. They are sliding that way. There's a lot going on in terms of the protection aspect of it, but the picture that I'm looking at Pickett here as he comes back to these crossers with the Yankee concept, what makes you think that you should go to Austin where there's the DB here and you get closer relationship between these defensive backs here? I don't know what drew his eyes there as Johnson is flashing open, and there's not pressure in that moment to make that decision, and you have Johnson open to at least try to attempt that pass. So, I mean, it's a long-winded way to say you're missing an open receiver for a touchdown in a 10-7 game in the fourth quarter. This one was there. It just fell short and really sums up the day. Finally, the last play we will look at is the one that's kind of gone Pittsburgh viral, at least Ben Roethlisberger reacting to this one during his football and live stream when he said he was so confused and didn't know what was happening on this final possession for the Pittsburgh Steelers on 2nd and 10, the deep ball that went to nobody, and just miscommunication. Anytime you see that deep ball just kind of go to nobody and just land harmlessly to the ground, almost a guarantee, there was miscommunication. And Pickett, in simple terms, thought Johnson was going to keep running vertically. Johnson broke his route off, and that's how you get this ugly result here overall. So in terms of who was in the right, who was in the wrong, again, it can be really tough to discern. These are sight adjustments based on coverage and leverage. And so, for example, look at the top here, the cornerbacks playing off. So Pickens, if he has the ability to convert his route, is not going to run vertically here. He's going to sit down on this route instead, which he does. Now, you have to kind of depend on what's the relationship between corner and wide receiver. If the corner's off, if there's a cushion, if the receiver's not going to be able to beat the cornerback vertically, then you may convert this one and sit down. Even against these tight man coverage, sometimes you'll sit down too because you're threatening vertical so much. The cornerback is running at full speed and can't match you when you break down. But, Pickett's seeing this and believing that Johnson has a step, or at least can beat the corner downfield, the old if he's even, he's leaving kind of mentality. Johnson breaks it down instead, and that's how you get this pass that is hopelessly incomplete. So those guys just not being on the same page. Yes, Johnson missed some time this year, but he's been back since week 7. You should really be on the same page for this kind of stuff. It's not that advanced where it's really that complicated. So it's hard to tell why the communication was so poor. Just might have been one of those games, because it certainly was one of those games for the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. So all of that is to say, we're just talking about foundational type stuff. Can you execute the screen game at a competent level and get the ball to your running back's hands with a little bit of blocking and space to work with? Can you be on the same page in terms of sight adjustments and option routes and reading coverage and leverage together as one? Can you hit some open receivers for would-be touchdowns in the red zone? Just basic stuff. So if you can just hit on these things, that's been the theme to me of the Steelers offense the last month. If you just hit the things that are there, the things that are just open and for the taking, and what the defense is giving you, or occasionally what the offense is scheming up and providing you, then this offense is not as pitiful as it is right now. We're not talking about how much they're struggling and putting up 10 points. They almost certainly beat the Browns if they make these plays. They might have even hung with Jacksonville if they make those plays. It's not as close against Tennessee, not as close against Green Bay. They're not going to be a scoring machine putting up 30 points per game. Of course not, but they're just at least doing the routine things routinely, as Mike Tomlin talks about. So I don't know if this video actually came up with a coherent point. My just overall takeaway is just how messy and sloppy in the communication issues in this game. That's just offensively. Defensively, you took 2 timeouts because you had 12 guys on the field. At least they have the excuse of all the injuries and more rotation and more matching offensive personnel, which Pittsburgh did pretty heavily in that game because Cleveland mixes up their personnel really well from 12 to 11 to 13 personnel. And Pittsburgh has to match that in different ways. So at least they have that excuse built in. But I just thought overall the communication was really poor in this one. And to me, it's a central reason why the Steelers lost. So hopefully this offense gets better. But right now it just feels like a big bucket of hope. Because you're not seeing any reality that tells you it's going to be better. Now, the run game has been strong. And just briefly, I'm rambling, I know. But when you see this passing offense struggle despite a really, strong and consistent running game, the last 3 contests against Tennessee, against Green Bay, and against Cleveland, they ran for 166 against Tennessee, 205 against Green Bay, 172 in this one, yet the offense in the pass game has been just so lackluster. So you can't even have the excuse about being one-dimensional or playing from behind or those types of things. And that's the really frustrating part because you're getting those things working, getting one half of the offense working, and the passing game seems to somehow regress despite the improvements and big improvements with the Pittsburgh Steelers run game. So road game at Cincinnati on Sunday. They will have another backup quarterback, Jake Browning, starting for the injured Joe Burrow. They're going to have to deal with the crowd noise and some of those external factors much better. They have to be on the same page. They're a group that's been playing together for a long time in terms of, Deontay Johnson, Kenny Pickett, George Pickens. Freiermuth is now back. The offensive line is healthy. Last year you could sit there and say it's a rookie quarterback, get some rookie receivers, a lot of brand new offensive linemen. You can kind of maybe excuse that away a bit more than you can this year where there's continuity and right now really good health. And this offense is going backwards. They are regressing, and that is extremely concerning. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Appreciate you guys watching. Please like this video. Please subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate that. Again, thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.